Hey guys, Art Decline here, Average Picker. So the other day, and I can't even remember, it was about 4 or 5 days ago, something came up where I kind of jokingly said, oh, a 4-pin challenge lock. And I actually started kind of poking at doing one of those. But then, of course, the logical progression is to take it all the way down to 1 pin. And what would a 1-pin challenge lock maybe look like? And on the surface, that seems pretty impossible, and it probably is, but I kind of roughly sketched an idea. Now, this is fairly exaggerated, and it's easier to draw something or even to plan something that's going to be bigger than by the time you get down to working on it on the tiny size that a lock is, you find out that stuff just doesn't work. So lock ideas don't always scale, I guess, is what's going on there. And this is just kind of a rough idea, so don't take this as like 100% gospel or what. It's just a very quick rough idea of what was in my head, but you might be able to come in and mill out all the driver chambers so that you essentially just have one big 5-pin long driver chamber, and in it you would put a piece of metal. Now in this case I cut a wave pattern. This is fairly exaggerated to what you'd probably end up having to really be in order to get to the shear line. And then you'd kind of try to do the same in the core. You would mill out the chamber so that you had one big matching one, and you would just do a mirror image of a giant long pin for it. And then you could potentially, on the one long pin, maybe do some cutting, like what might look like a pin, so that the key was kind of wavy itself and matched up with this. But you can see the general idea here. So you'd have some springs. You'd probably have to play with the tension on these a little bit, because what you would want this to do would be kind of off kilter, so that picking wise you could potentially be tilting it. So you could potentially be sneaking parts of this up into the shear line, and then when you came into the back to try to push, this side would maybe drop down a little bit. I don't think it'd be too terribly difficult, and of course it would take some playing with, because the risk is someone just comes in. I think it'd be interesting at first, because you would feel like almost no pins. It would just feel this kind of grooved piece of metal potentially. But the drawback is if they got one good solid lift in the middle, it would just push the whole thing up to shear line, and with a little bit of tension on it, of course, it would pop right open. But I think you're going to run, you're going to have that problem with any kind of 1-pin challenge lock. It's probably why we don't really see locks with 1 pin. But yeah, so this was just a quick little idea of what a 1-pin challenge lock may or may not be. And the idea was just to play with the idea kind of, I guess, of what a pin is and make it just quite a bit bigger and see what you could do. So I don't know, not really something I'm going to spend any time working on, but it was an interesting enough idea to at least turn it into a kind of brain thought experiment, and jot down a few notes and do a rough idea of what it could look like. So anyway, there's an idea for you. Maybe, frankly, I think it's a lot more effort than what the outcome would be, though I do think it would be really funny for someone to, right when they initially run their pick along the inside of that, and they just feel like this one kind of either straight piece of metal or a slightly kind of just grooved wave pattern in there. So yeah, there you go. My idea for what a 1-pin challenge lock might be. All right, you guys have a good one.